friends, welcome to my channel Tech Geek. Today we are going to discuss a very popular overloading Java interview questions. So basically this particular video will be focusing on overloading with null. The interviewer may ask you like what will happen if we pass null to that particular overloaded methods. So basically he may give you a scenario where if you see on my screen, he will actually give you three scenarios where he will be um, asking you to give the response like what will be the output if we have this three particular overloaded method with either string, input, integer, and object. So basically we will be discussing different scenarios over here, and we'll also check by running those particular example. So in this you will be able to see like how it works when we have this particular scenario, and you will be able to answer that particular question to the interviewer. So let's take some scenarios, how the interview questions may ask you and confuse you. So before starting, I just wanted to tell you all that I'm using an STS, that is an popular IDE, that is an Eclipse, based on the Eclipse, that is Spring Suite tool, which is a popular IDE framework for Java development. So basically, if you see, I have written few scenarios like what happens if we have these three versions of this method what we have written over here, and what will happen if we try to run it, whether there will be a compile time exception or runtime exception. We'll discuss all this. So let's take first scenario, that is I've written it here that I will be keeping all those three versions, that is string, integer, and object of the same overloaded method, that is getPerform method. So if you see, I've written it here, they will getting a compile time error. There will be no compile time error. So if you see here, the code shows no compile time error. It's completely perfect that there will be no compile time error. So the problem comes when you run it. So if you see here, when you try to call any of this method with the null, so you will get a compile time error. I'll just show you. I'll just uncomment out this part. So if you see here, when I'm trying to call this particular, I've created an object of it, create an object of this is, and I'm trying to call this particular method from here. So if you see, I have passed it over here the null. Okay, so you see I've written a comment over here that it's a compile time error. So if you see, it will not understand, like it will be calling this particular method, or it will be calling this particular method or this particular method. So the compiler get confused. So that's the reason it is getting compile time error. But if you see, if I comment it out, then there will be no compile time error. The only when you try to call this particular method, it will get confused and it will not able to run. So as you can see, there is a compile time, so there is no point of running it over here. So let's take for another scenario, that is if you see, I will keeping just integer and object. I will comment out the string one. Just a second, I'm just checking what scenario I've written it over here. So I've just, as I said, I will be keeping the integer and the object. So I will comment out the string one. So let's see, it will, what happens if we try to comment out this particular version. So it will compile or not. So let's see, if you see, it compiles properly, and let's see what happens if we run it. So here there is no, the compiler is not able to, is able to understand like for which method it will be calling. So any guesses like what method will be called? It will be calling object or integer. It will be calling integer. So let's see here. So if you see, it returns an integer method as an output over here. So I've written the sysout over here. So uh, it will not get confused now over here. So as there is no string over here. So let's take for another example where I will commenting out the integer part, and then I will keep uncommenting the string version of the overloaded. See, let's see what happens over here. So if you see, there is still no compile time error over here. It straight away compiles, and let's see what happens if you run it. If you see, that it will call the string method of this. So if you see here, yeah, if you see here, it will call in the string method. Okay, so let's say I'm committing this particular part as well. So let's see what happens over here. Uh, it will straight away call, as there is no other methods available, so it will only call the object one. But if you see, so it will behave in runtime. And guys, let's continue with the other scenario. So if you see here, I have got another block type written over here. So if you see here, I have created an integer object over here with null as a reference to it, and I've called this particular method. So if you see here, I have uncommented all this particular methods. So any guesses like what will be called over here? If you see here, I am passing the integer and pass value over here, and then I am calling this particular method and passing it over here. So if you see here, the compiler will understand that it's an integer object. So here there will be no compile time error, or the compiler will not get confused over here. It straight away will call this particular method. If you see here, let's see here. So let's say if I'm passing it over here as a string over here. So let's see what happens over here. See, it it recognizes like what kind of object it is passed. Also same, and this is what we have covered over here. So I think I've covered all the scenarios related to this null. uh, thank you for watching my channel. I hope it clears your doubt of, and you will be able to clear the interview.